Okay, so summary, Ois Daled. This is all to explain the union of what Mashiach has been Megala Losed Hovey, namely Pnimius Abba, which is bound up with Pnimius Atik. So Pnimius Amoichin as opposed to Chitzonius Amoichin. To explain that further, he explained the Iker Mail of Mashiach described in the Pasuk is V'yirichoi b'yiras Hashem, which the Gemara explains to mean that Meirich Vadoin, the Maila of Reyach, through which he judges. That he will simply have to smell the pashtus, litigants in conflict, and he will know with whom is righteousness and so on. So the Maila of, he explained, of Reyach over the Peh. So the Peh is connected with Hevel Halev. The Hevel Halev is what becomes the words of the mouth. True, the mouth expresses Divrei Seichel, but that's and therefore the Meichin. But that is the Meichin, the Seichel invested in the words. The words themselves, the Chaymer Ha'isius, come from the Hevel Halev. Masha'inke, which is not the case of the union of the Chaitem. So the Chaitem is connected with Meichin. Pnimius HaMeichin. Now in the Chaitem Gufa, he identified two levels. Again, he shadowed here the Pirush of the Keil Roma. And it could be, I didn't see it inside, this is just a guess. I don't know if it's an educated guess, not an educated guess. But since later the Hasbara comes out, the Dafka, the Chaitim Smoli, which is the Avodas HaTshuva, reaches deeper. So that is a little Chiddush of Chassidus, the Dafka in the Tachten, in Avodas HaTshuva, which could be that in Kabbalah, and that Pirush is the opposite, that the Yamin was higher than the Smoil. But the Smoil is Gvura, Tshuva, etc., is rooted deeper, so they're insisting in Ayin Beis and Al Ma'im that Rebbe too, like Meishe Kosev Sefer B'Kel Baram. El Kadisa B'Ksovim. That could be part of the reason why it's even negate to mention and negate his position. Akoponim, so what are you going to say? So the Maila of Reach is Aderech the Maila of Ktoiris. Now in Ktoiris, there's two dargis in Ktoiris. There's Ktoiris of year round and Ktoiris of Kippur. Ktoiris in year round is a makif, but it's still connected to Pnimi. Al derech medication. It's food, but it's a completely different level of food. Vadrab, too much is injurious, etc. So Achila helps for Achila is the Avodah Beifen Orogel, Teire Mitzvah Seichel and Midas, Avodah Pnimius. Then there's the need sometimes Mitzad Matzav Achili for the union of Refuah, that's the Ktoiris year round. That's also a Me'en Achila. That is Keneged the Chaitam or the Nekev Hayimani. The neck which is connected Chaya, that's the Avodah of Chaya. In other words, the Avodah of Rotzen. The Avodah of Seichel and Midas is Achila. The Avodah Mitzad, not just he understands and feels, but he is driven by a will, which the Fiyerech, relatively speaking, is totally beyond, immeasurably beyond the limits of Seichel and Midas. That's the Avodah of Chaya, that's the neck of Hayimani. That's Ktoiris year round. And then there's Daka Minadaka, doesn't mention that, but that's the Ktoiris of Yom Kippur, which is Avodas HaTshuva, that's Mitzad Yechida. And that is the neck of Hasmoli, and that's the true Atzmis Dikimakif. And that's Magi and Atzmas Da'atik. And that's what we mean, that's what we're talking about here, Pnimius Abba, bound up with Pnimius Atik. Pnimius Abba, he said earlier, is not an Inyan Sichli. So far beyond Seichel, the analogy is the Tipa, which is not an Inyan Sichli, far deeper, which conveys the Atzmo Sa'av. That's Pnimius Abba. And that Pnimius Abba is bound up, and it is that way because it's expression of Pnimius Atik, which is the Etzem Mamish. Now, it's interesting marshal of how we see that Avodas HaTshuva is higher even than Avodah of Tainug B'chlal, which is the Avodah of Ktoiris and the Reach B'chlal. The marshal was that a person has Tainug in showing his prowess of jumping over a pit, for example, and he does it with all of his strength, and he's misanig. When his life is threatened, it's a whole different Inyan, and he can go far further and greater because the Etzem HaNefesh is threatened. That's the whole, that's the whole theme of Basidagani, Midas HaNitzochen, that is revealed dafke when all is at stake, not when times are good. As he said in the Isdalid, there's two dargis of Rusa de Liba. So there's a Avodah of Rusa de Liba, which is the Makiv de Chaye, which is Shaykh to the Pnimi. Again, that's al derech medication. So that is he's in Oilem the Kedusha, and he has a desire to connect to Eid Sof. The Rotzi v'Tshukah Kolabeit Sof. This was his bonus. That was his bonus. That all of the Oilem the Gabaid Sof are bottled. We're talking about Oilem the Kedusha. In Oilem the Kedusha, he comes to realize that the Gabaid Sof, it's all bottled. Therefore, he wants more. But the Avodas HaTshuva is not because he wants more, because his matzav is intolerable. It's mitzad the meitzad, and that's magia in Etzem HaNefesh, that's Avodas HaYechida, and that's the Nekev HaSmoli, Chaye de Chaye. Right, that's the summary. Now we're up to Oisei. So this is the mile of Mashiach, that Meirich V'Doyin. What dargin reich are we speaking of? We're talking the level of life, showing in Makiv the Yechida, that's the Yechida, B'chinas Pnimius Atik. Here is being Meirich now. What's coming now? In Shamashiach, in beyond Shamashiach, the Merech Vadoin, Yeshting in Areach, so we see by Mashiach, the Zinyan of Reach, he smells. Meirach. So what's that? Shabchinas Makiv, and then there's also Merech Vadoin, Vyeshna Ian Hadin. He's judging. What's judgment? Shekol Din Mishpat, and Bchinas HaChochma, Bchinas Pnimius. So every dinner mishpat has to be discerning. It's the opposite of makiv. It's pnimius, who's guilty and who's innocent. So what is the inyan therefore? It's the hamshach of pirish merech v'doin who hamshach has a makiv pnimius. This is, by the way, one of the strong themes, if not the theme, of the l'chadoi maimer that you all said before the chuppah. Namely, v'yadua shamshachas ha'makiv b'pnimius. In order for the makiv to be drawn in the pnimius, it can't happen with chitzonius ha'makiv, because chitzonius ha'makiv is makiv. It's bligvul, and because it's bligvul, therefore, it is incompatible with gvul and pnimius. So how is the pnimius drawn in the makiv? It's mitzad the etzem only. Mitzad pchinas pnimius ha'makiv dafke. Why? Because in the Pnimius HaMakiv, there is expressed the kavana pnimius, which is dir betachtonim, dafka veda pnimius, merdach v'doyin. So it's dafka that the pnimius amakiv, of course this is paradoxical, meant to be, that the transcendent level of makiv can't be nimshach in the pnimius, it's too big. But dafke pnimius amakiv is nimshach in the pnimius, but it's higher than the chetzenis amakiv, so it's even bigger. And so it's mitzad the etzem and the kavanah pnimius adarab. That's the whole point of everything. The only reason there is a chetzenis amakiv to begin with is because that should contrast the pnimius amakiv, etc. And in the pnimius amakiv, which is the kavanah pnimius, is dafke yisave dir betachtonim. Right? So this is Teras Mashiach, which is what? Kshis Bel Yosef Beis, Aren and the Flois, the Piddush of the Ramez on the Zoyar Zara Davram, which means Shobchin is Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik. Lashon Lister is explained early in the Maamar. Because it's not revealed now, only then. Explanation. Din Yedu Amavu B'Makim Acher. The true intermediary between the Maitzel and Netzolim. So we would think it's Keser. It's not. The true Mamutza, because Keser is still too removed. The Mamutza has to be firmly connected between the Elyon and the Tachten. And that's Chochmah. Because Chochmah on the one hand is part of Ishtalshalus. But on the other hand, Pnimius HaChochmah, Chochmah Stima, which is the whole point here, that's bound up with completely the L'maylim Mikol HaBriya, the L'maylim Ishtalshalus. As he goes on to say. So it's not Keser because it's not really in both worlds. Although it does speak at Keser as the Mamutza, but that's Mamutza stage one. There's bridges, it's the first bridge. But the true bridge is you got to be in both worlds. Why Chachma? Because externally it's right there in Ishtal Shalos, it's the source of Seichel, of Agbol, of Pnimius. However, Pnimius, but Pnimius HaChachma, that's the tipper, he said earlier, is completely hidden. V'ho P'chinas Pnimius Atik Mamish, and it comes out that it's Pnimius HaChachma Dafke expresses the true Pnimius of Kesed, Pnimius Atik. Okay, tzorich a little bit. But the journalists will understand, because Kesed itself is still removed, and its very essence is not translated or expressed until Chachma Vatzilus, whose Pnimius is bound up with the Pnimius Atik. Because it's the etzem, it draws on the etzem. But where does it draw the etzem? In the ishtalshalos, in the creation of a child. So this is what Mashiach is going to be Megala V'zel Sherish HaHefesh Ben Kalya the Torah L'Pnimis HaTorah. This, what this? Chetzenis HaChachma and Pnimis HaChachma. These are the both the respective sources of Galya the Torah Pnimis HaTorah. So general, the Sherish HaTorah B'chinas Chachma Stima. So the source of Torah is Chachma Stima. Sherish HaTorah. Even though the Zohar says it's not Pnimius Chachma Stima, but Chachma. Torah emerges from Chachma. And we're just saying now that it's Chachma Stima, not Chachma Stam. Answer. The diak is from there, it emerges. We speak about the Sherish HaTorah, B'chinas Chachma Stima. You heard the voice above the heavens, that's Chachma Stima. Elo, now in that itself, B'chinas Chachma Stima Gufa, So these are the two levels. This parallels the two nekavim of the chaytim, the two cavities of the nostril. The analogy here is also what the medicine. So we're talking the shoresh. So this is the shoresh of Galia the Torah. So this is the level of Chachmas Timba as it's Shaychas the Gilui. Shoresh Pnimis Torah, whereas the Chiddush of the Sheikh B'Megala, Pnimis Torah, she is Gali the Mashiach Ba'atzmas Chachmas Timba. It's the very essence in Chachmas Timba itself, not the level that Shaychas the Gilui. Shezer Inyan Pnimis Abba, Pnimis Atik, and this is Teras HaShemashiach. Pnimis Abba, that Chachmas Timba Be'etzem, not even the Shaychas the Gilui, and that's bound up and brings Pnimis Atik into Ishtalshalos, into creation. In other words, carries the Kavana Atzmis of Dire B'Tachtonim into all of creation. In simple language, it means that Teres HaShemashiach means that we're going to experience then the Nisava of the Eibishter, his great desire for us, his Atzmisdik desire, which is Pnimis Atik. We're going to experience that in here, in creation, in ourselves, starting with ourselves. And this is Teras HaShemashiach Keduma, V'Belakot Torah B'Shar Emunah. Of the Mittel Rebbe Shelimud HaTorah de Mashiach Yiyeh. The way Mashiach will teach will be laid, from the Shalavon of Asog, there will be Avon of Asog. But not only that, and the B'derech Riyas Mahus will see the very essence, which is universal. This nisave, this desire that the Eibishter has to have a relationship with every one of us is not more or less than any of us. So that's b'derech re'iyah. Actually, it's a maamar, mugadik maamar of the Rabbi, where he takes it to the next level. The role called basar is even higher than re'iyah. Right, it's by for kol it's re'iyah. Re'iyah was even time of Beis Hamikdash. He's not going to that distinction here. Those maamar tavshin chafei achim shapesach tavshin tzmuga. But in general, the union of Yeshua Mashiach, Yilmid Ima Avis and Moishe Rabbeinu. So Mashiach's gonna. This is the right that Chassidus brings, that the whole learning is not the classic teaching. Who's he teaching? He's teaching the Avis and Moishe Rabbeinu. Shavshis to go Skolat Torah, Kolat. They already learned the whole Torah. Mikamokim Yilmid Ima Mashiach. He'll teach them what don't they know? They know everything. Hanyol Lefishi Yilmid. And that's not in of seichel. That's endless. Moreover, another eye that's going to be in of the ear is not only who his students are, but also the fact that it's going to be everyone, the other extreme. It's one fabrengen, and he's teaching everybody. How do you teach everybody? And to the fish and the everybody sees the same. Everybody will feel God's desire, the atzmistic desire, the same way, because his atzmistic desire is the same for each one. So this is the thing of the ear. Brought down of Chassidus. We learned this, that Arizal saw in a dream, in the meditative state, an hour or two. In Yonim Ke'elish, if you wanted to explain them in words, 80 or 60 years. It's interesting why it says pei samach and not samach pei. Because what this level of is the level of Torah commission before Ashes bepnimius Chachmas Tema it's at Mufureshes, as it's explicit in Pnimius of Chachmas Tema, which is Mashazel, Mashasosum Be'etzem. So that the only way to experience that is Re'iyah, not in the Hakbal of words, the Seichel. Shezel Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik, and that's the Darga of Mashiach. That's the Meirich V'doyin. That he will be Megala, Pnimius Abba, Renan Iflois Lasilov. Now we'll understand why we need the Bekiyas HaNahar, and why after all of this it's still connected to Mitzayschem Beretz Mitzrayim. That's coming down. We're clear. We go further. Yeah. Say you can come in Bekiyas HaNahar La'asid. All of the will understand also the splitting of the river. If you're the Alandar Bayom Ruchai, he will raise his hand over the river by the force of his breath, of his spirit. Thinking of Reyach. So the splitting of the river is achon to this revelation of Pnimius HaTorah La'asid, which is the inyan of Chachmas Tema. Sosum be'etzem. Inyan bazeh dehinei b'tzias Mitzrayim. Kod the Matan Torah Hutzach liyis Kriyas Yamsuf. It had to be the before Matan Torah had to be in B'tzias Mitzrayim. There had to be the splitting of the sea. Why? What's the of the splitting of the sea? V'hinei lefish Matan Torah is chadashing the chibra till is the ubiyah. So Matan Torah began the first stage in the Elyonim and the Tachtonim becoming one. The Tachtonim. So where does it start with? It starts with first Atzilus, which relatively speaking is beyond creation. So here has to be the Chibur of Atzilus and Biyah. And as explained in Kabbalah and Chassidus Bebeis, they found him in two ways. The fusion has to be B'derech Hamshach, L'mayda L'mata. It has to be the Gila from the alien, the upper has to descend to the lower. As the Pasuk says, they descend on Har Sinai. So that's a tremendous chiddush that the alien descends to the mata. Then there's even the greater chiddush of Derech Halom, Elamata Lamayla. The lower has to ascend to the alien. To Moishe, they said descend. Obviously, it's not a simple matter to understand what if the alien is coming down to the Tachten, there's no need for the Tachten to go anywhere. For the Tachten to go, it's mission accomplished. The alien came down to the Tachten. You have the Chibur. So this is Mevunach Sidis Barichas. In general, it means Amshachasa Etzem. Amshachasa Etzem is the alien to the Tachten, but the Tachten has to be keli to be margish what this means. And the Tachten has to divest himself of his coarseness to be able to appreciate what he has. And that's the aliyah of the Tachten. Sometimes it's the other way a little bit, but anyway, that's the general idea. In other words, a lichtiket, it can't just be a home, but it's got to be a luminous home. Not just the diamond in the rough, but the diamond polished and luminous. Yes, anyway, so there has to be this chibur. So that's kriyas yamsuf. Kriyas yamsuf. What's yamsuf? So what's the ocean? The ocean is a collected body of water. It's stationary. That contains within it this complex world, completely lost to the naked eye. Vast and complex and mysterious. That's Malchus Datzilus. The Yamsuf of Malchus, Malchus, Seif Kol Dargin Datzilus. Malchus is the last Madrege of Atzilus that contains Knesses. It contains Knesset Yisrael, all of the Madreges are all invested in Malchus, but concealed in her, like the word. So Malchus there is the Mamutza, the intermediate between Atzilus and Biyah Atzilus, which is all Gilui and Oil, that's the ocean, oceanic world. Alma Discassia, the hidden world. So Atzilus is the Mamutza. It's all contained there, invested there. Behind the Shekhinah says Besoicha, Malchus gathers, as it were, within her Kol Ha'odes Atzilus Umalemes Aleh. It gathers all of the Odes and it's concealed there. For what purpose? To remain? No. Al Yidei Zeh, it's like the conception that Malchus is Mekabel from Zohar and it's concealed for 9 months. But then comes these galus, the birth to the child. And then through that, Malchus reveals Atzilus to Biyah. Okay, Dua, Shah Malchus, the analogy is Dibur. What's the end of Dibur? Dibur Legalus, as the whole point of speech is to reveal to the other what you wouldn't know what's going on in your head or your heart. How does Dibur work for Yesh? But they're based in Yonim. So there's two in Yonim in Dibur. First of all, Dibur is a receptacle, it's a container, it's an envelope, it's a teva, it's a word, it's a box. It's Mekabel in it, the Seichel. It's number one. Then you talk and you reveal the Chitzonius Seichel. Talking about when you're giving over a real radical seichel, something the other person would never know unless you said it to them. Not something, information that the punkt they know, you don't. You don't speak that. That's not the Moshel Nechsidus. The Moshel Nechsidus, when giving over Dvar Seichel, is an inyan that if it wouldn't be revealed, the recipient would not be in his world ever. It's fundamentally inaccessible to him. So Vehoyo, a true master and disciple. What is the mastic that Rav giving over? He's not giving over everything that he put in those words. Can't. The makabel is not a keli, and you can't convey it. So this we can see this from the Gemara, Naved Zara. Right, the famous Gemara, like the person does not grasp, literally stand, refer, be there to understand the idea of his master. It takes 40 years to unravel that which is in the words. Why is that? They only reveal the Chitzonis, even though the Pnimis is there, but it's Behelim. And only after 40 years, then he's able, with toil, doesn't happen naturally either, with toil to be able to understand the Pnimis, what the depth of the idea.
What's the difference with the...
Pardon? Speak up.
The difference with the mashal of the Arizal.
Of the
Arizal.
The Arizal.
What is it the same mashal, the same idea that we take like a whole different?
No, in the Arizal's mashal. No, there he has to talk for 80 years. And then you need 40 years after he spoke to understand what he said, the Pneumius. Still 40 years. Yeah. What he saw in 1 hour to put in OCS would take 60 or 80 years. And then the Bayom Shnin to make it down to get the Riyah that he saw. This is to convey to the Makabel, will take 60, 80 years. But now, so these two in Yonim, now in Malchus, that's Ilus. Beis in Yonim Melush, Malchus, the Kroim, B'Shem Yam, V'Oretz. Sometimes Malchus is referred to an ocean, And sometimes it's referred to others, the earth. It's interesting that it's called Mother Earth, even in popular vernacular, Mother Malchus. Partially because the earth receives the seed and then develops it. So what is Malchus? Is it Yam, was it Oretz? The answer is Pchinis Pnibis Malchus. So the inner level of Malchus, as it she's the Makabla from higher, Shemalem es Aloidet Atzilus Nikas B'Shem Yom. That's the Yinavad of Malchus as an ocean. It's Chetonius and Malchus as Malchus, then articulates that in words. Shenas is Galis Libya, as Malchus is a source to reveal the truth of Elikus in words in a limited way, but to reveal Atzilus and the Emes to creation. So there she's called Nikras B'Shem Oretz. So what's Kriyas Yamsuf? Hafach Yom Le'Yabosh. Being Kriyas Yamsuf Hafach Yom Le'Yabosh, the transformation of the sea into dry land. So here's the fusion of Atzilus Ubya Bebezo Ifanim in both ways. From below to above and above to below. Here he puts the below to above first. Kedas, because Kedas HaZoyar varies, because he wants that. The Zoyar talks about it. Kriyas Yamsuf, Milamata Lamayla, and that is on Milamayla, it seems. That's why he puts it in this order. We haven't counted this, if you recall, in my modern before. So this is Hafach Yom Layabosha, that the revelation that which Malchus experiences inwardly in Atzilus is revealed where in Layabosha to creation. So in other words, here it's not just the word, and after 40 years, you'll understand. This is radical right now in the words, in this moment is the Gilui in Biyah, was a temporary one, but to creation of Gilui Likus as it is in Eilam Atzilus, Eilam Ha'achtus. And that was Achon for Matan Torah. So this is Achon, the Lechibur Atzilus Ubiyah, Matan Torah, basically Fanemanal, and this is Achon for Matan Torah. They Bisha descends and Moishe ascends in the two directions where Elyon and Tachton become one. Okay, to be continued Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. Explain this a little bit further, and then why Allah said ווהי, we need the Nora to split. Here was the ocean. The ocean is Malchus Datzilus. Allah said ווהי, the Nora, which is Bina Datzilus. The Chibur of Atzilus and higher than Atzilus. Now we're going to what? Chachmas Timah. Okay, to be seen Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.